What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? We've got updates to galore. CeeDee Lamb, rumors, Hollywood Brown injury updates, Xavier Worthy updates, and of course, everyone's new preseason fan favorite, Carson Steele updates. So, I am your host, Gary McKenzie. You might be wondering, why is he wearing a backwards hat today? First of all, it's merch from Ryan from RGR Football. And second of all, I'm just not having a good hair day. So the hat got popped on because the hair is not popping today. And I'll apologize and I'll do a better job next week. Or I might keep the hat. Let me know in the comments what you think. But first thing I want to talk about is CeeDee Lamb. All this talk about CeeDee Lamb coming to the Chiefs showing interest in him. And honestly speaking, I want to give a little more insight into what's going on and what my take is. But looking at CeeDee Lamb last year, had an awesome season. He was number 2 in receiving yards with 1,749 yards receiving. Number 3 in touchdowns with 12 receiving touchdowns, so it had a really good year. In 2022, also had a good year. He was number 6 in receiving yards, number 6 in touchdowns. And then in 2021, he was top 20 in terms of receiving yards and top 20 in terms of receiving touchdowns. He's going to be 25 years old heading into the season, so I mean, that's a pretty young receiver, has a really good body of work. The only player who had more receiving yards than him last year was Tyreek Hill. We all know how good he is. But all these rumors about the Chiefs maybe being interested in CeeDee Lamb, and I want to look at the reality of the Chiefs doing something like this and picking up CeeDee Lamb. So right now, the Chiefs have $17 million in cap space going into 2024, which is a lot. They have some room to do some things still this season. And that number's coming from Spot Track. But 2025, things get a little bit trickier because they only have $8 million in cap. They would have to cut some players, perhaps restructure Mahomes, do a bunch of different things. But long story short, 10,000-foot level regarding the cap space, yeah, the Chiefs have enough cap space to sign a player like CeeDee Lamb. But the question you have to ask yourself is, do they want to trade what they need to trade to pick up CeeDee Lamb? And right now, I believe CeeDee Lamb would ask for $30 million a year. And then Jerry Jones would want at least a first-round pick for CeeDee Lamb. You know, the Chiefs got a king's ransom for Tyreek Hill. I don't think that there will be a king's ransom given up for CeeDee Lamb, but I do think that a first-round pick would be fair compensation to the Dallas Cowboys to get CeeDee Lamb. So where do I fall at all on this? $30 million plus a year for this receiver. A first-round draft pick. The Chiefs don't have a ton of cap space in 2025, and I am calling cap on all of this. Maybe that's another reason why I'm wearing the cap. I'm calling cap on all this because I just don't think the Chiefs will pull the trigger, and I also think that the Chiefs are always going to be pulled up in rumors because they're a good piece of manipulation for agents. What do I mean by that? Well, my player wants to win a Super Bowl. My player is talking to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you should, kind of pay my guy so he can stay here. I think that's what's going on with all these Chiefs rumors, particularly with CeeDee Lamb. I think it's just a chess move by CeeDee Lamb and his agent to put pressure on Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones has publicly said, I don't think we need to sign CeeDee Lamb. We're not in any hurry to get a deal done. So what do? Well, CeeDee Lamb starts, removing pictures from his Instagram, like he just got done with the breakup with the Cowboys. And then these rumors start floating out that the Chiefs are interested in him. And I really think this is all just a game to get CeeDee Lamb's bag. And I think that he's not going to get traded, and maybe they're trying to work on Jerry Jones a bit. Now, scheme-wise, fit-wise, yeah, I think he'd be awesome in Kansas City. I think Andy Reid would know just what to do with him. Patrick Mahomes would get him the ball. I don't think that's going to happen. But moving on, I want to talk about Carson Steele for a second. So Carson Steele kind of is everyone's sweetheart right now in the preseason or after the preseason game, especially if you're a Chiefs fan. And there's a lot of good things to like about this player. He's 21 years old. He's a big dude. He's 6 foot 228. He's strong, very strong. He benched 225 28 times. So if you're doing the math, your gym math in your head, 228 is 2 plates on each side. 28 times is a lot, so it's a pretty strong kid. And, during the combine, he didn't really show very well in terms of the athleticism matrices outside of your strength and power that he had. He ran his 40 time anywhere from 4.5 to 4.77 is what I've seen recorded. 4.77 being more official than the 4.5. The 4.5 I think came from his college pro day, and you kind of know how those go sometimes. But he's always been more of a put the pads on, let's play ball kind of player, not an underwear Olympics type player. And he has quoted by saying, you do all these tests in the combine, but at the end of the day, you really have to put a helmet and pads on and play football. And I think that you can see this in his game. Like, he's got this workman attitude, blue-collar attitude. People love this in Kansas City and in the Midwest. Chiefs fans just love this. I love it. And some interesting things about him is that when he was a kid in the first or second grade, he got a pet alligator. And he's from Greenwood, Indiana. So I'm not sure if he had a pet alligator while he was in Greenwood, Indiana. It's a kind of a non-swamp-like place. So I'm curious to know how he got this alligator, and he named it Crocky J. So how many of you have a pet alligator? Let me know down in the comments. I doubt there's very many of you, but some of you may have some interesting pets. You can mention that in the comments if you'd like to. But he ended up going and playing college ball at Ball State. And his freshman year had a really productive year, 891 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. Sophomore year, another really productive year, 1,556 yards rushing, which is amazing. 14 touchdowns. This guy was dominating at Ball State, versus maybe smaller school, lesser competition. And then he went and transferred to UCLA. UCLA, he had another good year for his junior year, 847 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. And throughout his career, he's always hovered around a 5-yard per average rushing attempt. So 2021, 4.6 yards per rushing attempt. 2022, 5.4 yards per rushing attempt. 2023, 5.1 yards per rushing attempt. So in college, he was always getting the job done and being efficient whenever he got his opportunities. And you could see that in the preseason game whenever he was hit and still, picked up 5 yards. There's one play where he was hit behind the line of scrimmage and ended up getting 20 yards. So this is the kind of player that I think fits in well with what the Chiefs want to do. And I think this is kind of a player that Andy Reid really would like to have on the roster. I would not be surprised in the least if Carson Steele makes this team and Andy Reid has some interesting packages for him, because he can also catch the ball. So he could do some tight end type things, maybe come in at 13, and then, maybe it's not 13, maybe it's 22. Kind of some question marks about him. If you're the defense, is this guy going to be a runner or is he going to be a receiver? And, if he's doing 28 reps at 225, he's got enough strength to be a good blocker. So, pretty impressed with this kid's motor. And I just wanted to give you a little more information on Carson Steele and just kind of what he's all about, who he is. The last thing I want to talk about is how the Hollywood Brown injury affects the Chiefs wide receiver room. So last week I told you what my locks or what my predictions were for the Chiefs wide receiver room, and I had Rice, Worthy, Brown, and Watson, all as locks. Those guys are all locks. But then I moved on to Kadarius Toney, and I thought he might have some type of injury designation. I thought Sky Moore might get cut. I thought Montrell Washington would get put on the practice squad. Justin Ross would make the roster. Phillip Brooks would get cut. Nico Remigio would make the 53. And after the injury to Hollywood Brown, I feel like that shakes things up a bit because it really opens up one more roster spot for those guys that are fighting to make the team. And I think that the one player who's going to get the biggest recipient or boost from Hollywood Brown's injury, I think that's going to be Sky Moore. So Sky Moore is going to get the opportunity to play. And if you look at the snap counts, I thought the snap counts were really indicative of what was going on in that Chiefs preseason game, especially at the wide receiver position. So you had bubble guys, and then you had guys who were probably going to get cut, and then you had the for sure starters. So interestingly enough, we'll throw away Hollywood Brown's one snap because he got hurt, and he would have likely played 5 or 6. But Xavier Worthy had 5 snaps. Rashee Rice had 6 snaps. Patrick Mahomes had 6 snaps. These guys the Chiefs are viewing as starters, they got around 5 or 6 snaps. So that kind of tells me what they think about Xavier Worthy already. and in that, we're not going to overload this guy. We're going to protect him. They think he's more of a number one, maybe not necessarily number one, but starting caliber player. So that's where I believe they feel they are with Xavier Worthy. Those are valuable snaps in the preseason for a rookie, and them withholding him kind of makes me think that he's going to have more of a impactful role than what some of us might initially think. Moving on, you have the Sky Moores and the Justin Rosses. So I think Sky Moore had around 16 snaps, and Justin Ross had a handful more. Maybe it was around 19. They were both in the 20% range, I believe. And so these are your guys that, hey, let's see what they've got. Maybe they're kind of bubbly. Maybe they're a little more likely to make the team than a Nico Remigio or Phillip Brooks, but they're still, not completely in that starting caliber role yet. And I think that Justin Ross, after this preseason game and then after the last couple practices after the preseason game, I think he's going to make the 53. I think he's earned the spot. I think he's got the talent to do it. So I think going forward with the Hollywood Brown injury, my new prediction, am I allowed to make a new prediction? I don't know. I'm going to keep it very similar. But my locks are still Brown, Rice, Watson, and Worthy. And then since Brown's going to start the season on some type of injury designation, I would bet they have to do it after the final cut down. That way he doesn't get put on full season IR. There's some interesting rules about the injury designation in the NFL in terms of cut downs and all that good stuff. But he's going to start the year at some type of brief injury designation, and then maybe they'll be able to pull up another player they can try to hide on the practice squad. But I think that with Hollywood Brown going down, you're going to have 6 wide receivers, and maybe 7 if they can tuck one away on the practice squad and bring them back up. And those 6 are going to be Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Justin Ross is your 4. And then this is where it gets tricky. I thought that Sky Moore would be cut, but with Hollywood Brown being out, I think he makes the roster. And I hate to say it, but that's where I'm at. And then the last one to round it out, I think, is a battle between Kadarius Toney and Nico Remigio. And I still think that something's going to come up where they somehow keep both of them. And maybe the way they do that is they keep Kadarius Toney on the 53 as that 6th receiver, and then try to sneak Remigio onto the practice squad, and then maybe bring him up after they put Hollywood Brown on that 4-week injury designation, which I think would be a fair timetable for him to recover. But that's it. That's what I got to say today. Gary McKenzie, once again, talking to you about Chiefs football here in RGR Football, the best place for Chiefs YouTube content. And if you have not done so already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. We are getting closer every single day, all because of you. This is why we do this. It's for you. We're fans ourselves, and we just want to say we appreciate you so much for being part of the community and liking and subscribing. But this is Gary signing out. That's all for the rest of the video. Let's go Chiefs. Got another preseason game coming up here this weekend.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.